Today, two teams fight for their shot at the title in Oakland. See who can bring their hungry fan bases a victory with our series today. Jensen rolled into the studio, ready to face his opponent, Bjergsen, who's no doubt looking to get fed today. TSM in their ready room.
That's why we said no
snack. No doubt.
There
is no doubt
toast?
he's looking to get fed
I'm hoping it's
today.
avocado toast, otherwise it's a very strange color.
Open face sandwich.
That might be bad.
All right, well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the NALCS Countdown, where for 30 minutes we chart the histories of today's opponents and grade the likelihood of an upset until the timer reaches 0 and we jump into Champions Select. Today, though, we announced 2 more regular split awards. To get a word from Summer's rookie and coach of the split, let's send it to Avali in the Battle Arena.
Thanks, guys. I am here with Coach of the Split, Reaper, and Rookie of the Split, Blabber. Both of you guys, congratulations. And Reaper, you took Cloud9 from last place all the way to semis. You went from being the most hated coach to the most loved coach. So what was this entire split like for you?
I mean, I made the last place too, you know? But yeah, this split was extremely like roller coaster to me because I was 10th place to the 2nd place. We worked really hard as a 10-man, and all our steps are try super hard to giving motivation for our players and trying to best for the developing our talents, the young talents. So yeah, so far so good, and also thanks for this coach of the split.
You earned it. And Blabber, you came in halfway through the split and helped Cloud9 make their playoff run. So what does winning Rookie of the Split mean for you?
I mean, winning Rookie of the Split means a lot to me. It feels really good, especially since I know another rookie, Zazel, and I really feel like he also deserved this award. I feel like he performed exceptionally well, stepping in for Smoothie. So for me to win it over him makes me feel really good, but I also do think Zazel deserves to win this award also.
And Cloud9 is producing back-to-back rookies of the split. Last split being Licorice. So what are you doing as a coach that's helping this new talent develop so quickly?
Oh, actually, that's a good question. I do a lot of things for my players, but most likely, when I'm coaching to rookie players, I'm giving them for freedom to whatever they want. And then our veterans are usually support and back up for what rookies want to do, what rookies are game plan, and they are wired, right? That's why rookie. So we are just back him up. I mean, back the rookies up, you know? That's what I does.
Blabber, what did you think of this backup veteran coaching style, and what did you think of Rupert's coaching style?
I guess I really liked Reaper's coaching style. At the beginning, when I first joined, he let me play whatever I wanted. And then he started knocking all of my champions. He wouldn't let me play like 80% of the champions I wanted to play because he just told me I was boosted on them. I guess if it wasn't for him, I'd still think I was pretty good on those champs. And if I pulled it out on stage, might not have the best performances. So I appreciate that.
And Rupert, like you said, this was a whirlwind of a split. Was there ever a point in time where you felt like you needed to rebuild team trust or regather the troops to focus on that goal of reaching finals?
Actually, it started with a split. I felt something like that because something wrong, but I didn't see the problems immediately. And as a coach, I was feel like, oh, maybe I'm wrong, you know? Because as a coach, if you don't see your team's problem, there's something wrong with the team and me, right? So we are start the conversation as a team, and right after like few days, we start the rebuilding the team. And then, yeah, we got here.
And you mentioned before that at the start of the split, you basically revamped your entire coaching style. And kind of reflecting on the split, if there was any point in time where you could go back and change something or do something differently, what would it be?
Yeah, kind of. We'll do probably if I can go back to at the moment. I'm probably doing same thing like benching the players and mix the roster, but nicely.
Nicely. Okay, well, really quick thoughts. You're going to go against TSM today. Quick thoughts.
We're going to beat them.
3-0. Blabber.
Yeah, we're going to beat them 3-0 probably, so
3-0. You heard it here, guys. Back to the analyst desk. Congratulations again.
You asked for quick thoughts. I gave some quick thoughts on the series today, but I do want to stop down and just talk about, again, this run that C9 made and the fact that they've got Rookie of the Split, Coach of the Split on the stage there, going from last place to second place and securing that playoff bye. I mean, what a tremendous run.
Yeah, and I think the way that they approach integrating rookies into the team with a bunch of veterans is pretty interesting because I think a lot of veterans have a pretty set way that they want to play, and rookies are often seen as like these hungry to learn kind of guys. And they're saying, no, the rookies are going to kind of set the play style because the veterans have more experience and are in some ways more malleable. And so they're going to try and accentuate what the rookies already know how to do.
Yeah, and I did like what Reaper said. He's like, well, I was also part of them being in last place, but then we were able to recover. This was a team from spring that was a quarterfinal exit to a team that has a playoff bye. That's the improvement I see from that team. And I also do want to shout out Cloud9 as an organization. They had the spring split, Rookie of the Split in Licorice, and they have the #1 and 2 Rookies of the Split in Summer. They have a bunch of young talent with kind of what Reaper's talking about, the way they develop it, but it was so close. 118 points for Blabber in first and 105 points for Zazel in second. A lot of first place votes went to Zazel. He was my personal first place vote as well, but I can see both those guys being extremely deserving if they get it.
Yeah, a lot of investment put into those young players from the C9 organization, and it's paying off. Now, to see how we arrive, though, at today's matchup, let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket presented by Jersey Mike's Subs. We've got a rematch of the 2017 Spring Finals as Cloud9 and TSM meet on stage for the first time in a semi. And of course, the winner of today's series will face the winner of Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves, taking place tomorrow. You can still earn in-game rewards by using the promo code JMNALCS at jerseymikes.com. Simply order your meal with the code, and you'll enjoy a side of league content. Last week, though, another team season came to a close, which means until we see them in 2019, it's time to bid farewell in RIP FlyQuest.
Somebody say
we're like already ahead of like what everybody else said we'd be. Anything else from here is like you got nothing to lose. And this has probably been like the best team that I've ever worked with. Everybody here, like they care about each other and everybody wants to win and everybody works really hard. And like I couldn't ask anything more of a team.
That Saint audio bit, that was like the Titanic scene where it's like, gentlemen, it was an honor to play with you. And they go down
Still playing,
the
going down with the ship.
That was sad.
Yeah, but it's a nice, I mean, it is sad, but it's a nice sentiment to hear, you know, and we've heard it from the players as well. Many of the players that we've had the privilege of talking to, that the environment within that organization is definitely a good one, and that they're all very willing to improve and practice together around their different points of weakness.
Yeah, those videos are always great for the meme factor, but FlyQuest did have a good year. St. Fitch was a big part of that. Also, second place in Coach of the Split voting. You can check out the full ballots online for the awards we just gave out on stage.
Plug, I like it. With 2 more teams out of the playoff picture, it's time to look at the likelihood teams have of being crowned the summer champions from our 4 remaining competitors.
Yeah, and this split is a little different than the last because we went in to spring playoffs with TSM going on a late season surge and us kind of expecting them to be the favorites. Then they lose in quarters right away, and then we entered semis with no clear picture. This time around, it really feels like we have 2 clear favorites.
Yeah, I've been talking to a lot of people all week about this, so I did a little bit of math, the same math I did in the spring split of who I think would win the semifinals, followed by who I think would win in any of the 4 possible finals matchups, and it spits out percentages, which means Team Liquid has a 47% chance to win it all, based on the percentages I entered, Dash.
Yeah, I was going to say, because this is all based off of Jat's own numbers plugging
Well,
in.
it's not
this
a secret stat sheet. It's just I just said the exact formulas that I use.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it clear to the audience that these numbers don't actually dictate
you should do
teams'
that.
actual chances of winning.
I should make the doc public so people can put their own stuff in.
Yeah, I did it. My numbers were a little different. I think I had 100 Thieves less likely to win and TL a little bit more likely to win, just because I favor them a little bit more in their matchup today.
But it's still favoring Team Liquid over C9.
Yeah, I think they've just been really hot all split long, and there was like a little bit of the hiccups coming back from MSI, but a lot of teams often have those kinds of you know, kind of hangover effects when they have an international competition that other people don't need to go to. They're a little bit more tired, and so they were off to a little bit of a slow start, but they finished the season 7-2.
Yeah, and I'm still hoping that we get amazing semifinals. Like, I look at the hype of the matchups of having TSM C9 again and having TL 100 Thieves, and I want them to be series with upsets. I just actually think that the two teams with buys have shown to be on a higher level than the teams that didn't get buys. So that's what I'm expecting. Still a lot of hype from the storylines, though.
Exactly. I was going to say the one team that wasn't mentioned necessarily, as you said, you had 100 Thieves slightly higher, is TSM. But of course, their series in the quarterfinals wasn't the easiest, moving on to get to the semis.
Yeah, they were down 2-1 in this series. They really scraped by in a lot of their games. Even in Game 5, there were a few moments that if they go the other way, we'd be seeing Echo Fox here. So yes, it is exciting that TSM has been able to go on the winning streak at the end of the regular season and take down Echo Fox in that series. But I still feel like this team has a long ways to go before they're title contenders.
Game 1 through 4, at some point in each of those games, they had a 2K deficit that they had to come back from. And against a cleaner team, as we always have known Echo Fox to be volatile, against a cleaner and more aggressive early game team like C9, it's even scarier for TSM here.
All right, well, there you have it. We're stepping away for a moment. When we come back, we preview Cloud9 versus TSM, and fans weigh in on this historic matchup. All that and more after the break.
Losing quarters twice in a year for TSM is a failure. For me, it's a failure. It's like something that never happened in either my career or in TSM's history. So it's a huge loss for both of us. So I don't want it to happen no matter what. If we come back now and we win against Echo Fox and we win against TL or C9, whoever we get chosen to play against, if we do make it and win the summer split and we do go to Worlds, I think everyone will forget what happened in spring split, and that's what I'm here for today.
Did about a 17 straight hour drive to make it here just to watch TSM play Echo Fox today.
They have underperformed this year compared to other years.
They look like they're scared this year as well.
Yeah. Not being at the top of the NA ladder, which is something that they are just known for. They're too timid. Sven and Mithy, I just feel like don't try to make those plays. They should have kept double lift and Biofrost.
I believe Sven can turn it around if he pulls today off.
I still believe in them to come back, so.
We've seen Sven do it over in Europe. They weren't losers over there. Well, I don't know what it is, but there's other star power that can be made with TSM. It's just whether or not they're gonna show up.
Once you taste the feeling of winning, you don't want to go back. I want to go back to winning again, and I want to be in the finals, and I want to go to Worlds, and I want to be considered the best player in my role. It's important that we continue TSM's legacy as the kings of NA.
TSM will get that Kaiser the pentakill!
I guess TSM has rivalry with everyone, but it's more like everyone wants to have a rivalry with TSM. You obviously want to be rivals with the best team and the team that's had the biggest legacy.
Historically, TSM has always had the numbers on us during playoffs.
Disaster for Cloud9!
But I think this time around, it's really going to be the one where we're going to beat TSM.
They could die here! Very, very low, gonna be taken down! First blood over to Team Liquid!
If you get a bye, then you need to practice way harder than other teams because having underdog power is a real thing. So if you don't try way harder than them, you actually might just get upset.
Whenever I'm in playoffs, I'm here to win the whole thing. So I can't really stop at Team Liquid.
스프링 시즌에는 트로피를 리퀴드한테 뺏겼는데 이번 시즌에 저희가 뺏어오고 싶습니다.
It's a double for double lift, and the Thieves are routed. Liquid will look for the win right here.
With every day and every series that we get to play, I'm one step closer to being back on the final stage. For me, it's something I've done so many times before. There's no reason I couldn't do it again.
We're back with the NALCS Countdown, where I'd like to welcome Clutch Gaming's top laner, Solo, to help us break down today's series. So thank you very much for joining us. Our first match of the semifinals, we have two teams adding another chapter to one of the great rivalries of the league, after a tumultuous year from both sides.
Yeah, and Cloud9 definitely had a roller coaster. You even heard Reaper talking about that, where they started super hot in spring, kind of tanked towards the end of the season, got knocked out in quarters, and then had to bench a bunch of their most prominent players. Sneaky's consecutive game streak getting snapped, and then they fall to 10th place, and it kind of felt like one of the darkest hours for the entire C9 organization that we've seen in League of Legends, and then they start to come flying back to second place.
Yeah, I think it's been such a good improvement for C9, and when you look at the recent track record, they look so solid, but because it's been the roller coaster, you do wonder if they've been able to maintain that. Looking at TSM, though, they kind of had the same type of tumultuous year. In fact, they didn't even turn it on until much later, where they won the last 4 games of the split and then barely squeaked by Echo Fox in that quarterfinal series. So even though they are here, I don't think there's as much confidence behind TSM as there is behind C9.
Yeah, I think that they did have kind of each their own difficulties throughout the split, but I think TSM coming off of a really tough series versus Echo Fox, I think that's something that can really bring a team together and kind of like get over the hump of, you know, all the growing pains that you've had throughout the season.
I do want to jump back to C9 and just get your perspective as a player within the league. As you were watching this happen week to week to week, C9's benching this player, bringing this player up from academy, sending these guys here, whole new 5-man roster. Like, what was your perception of it as someone, you know, on a team about whether or not these were effective moves, or were you as questioning as the community was around whether or not this team was going to just absolutely implode?
Yeah, I think you know, going throughout the split when they were making their roster changes and having their difficulties, it was I think everyone felt similarly to the community that they didn't really know what they were doing. They were just kind of fishing for ideas. But I guess they were geniuses in the end of it all, and they had this master plan to bring in their rookies and really take over the split.
I mean, that's the thing for me. It's just like how it ends matters so much for all these narratives, because similarly for TSM, losing in quarters, the first time they ever get knocked out in playoffs before finals, it's like TSM fan base losing their minds again. But if they can win here and get to Worlds, I think a lot of people will be more happy and fine with that than still worrying about the worst year in TSM history in some ways.
Exactly, yeah. For that to have been their darkest hour, being knocked out in quarterfinals of a playoffs, in the grand scheme of things, ain't that bad.
No.
But when you have a history of winning like TSM, it can seem like the world is falling apart. Whenever we talk about Cloud9 versus TSM, it's so easy to draw focus onto the mid lane and added pressure that sometimes weighs on our star players.
I feel like I'm a player that can like influence the game a lot by myself, but it's always hard to do that against a team like TSM because Bjergsen is a really solid mid laner. So it's always harder for me to play against teams that are good, plus also have a very solid mid laner. So it's always been hard against TSM, whereas I feel like when I play against other teams, it's a lot easier for me to like just snowball the game or take over the game. But it's not really that simple against TSM because they have a strong mid laner too. So I think a lot of it comes down to which team is better or better prepared. And I think this time around, we actually have the better team.
Playing against Jensen is always fun. Going into the series against Fox, I felt like I could kind of tease out and be a little cocky in my picks and the way that I played, facing Demonte and knowing that he would come in feeling nervous. But I know that going into Jensen, it's going to be a closer matchup, and I have to show him the same level of respect that I would show another great player.
And I love hearing these guys talk about each other where every time TSM C9 has played each other in the last 3 or 4 years, it's always been Bjergsen against Jensen, and to the victor go the spoils. But when they talk about it, it's actually kind of whose team was better because they match up against each other pretty even.
A great deal of mutual respect, rather, between these players. But if Jensen and Bjergsen then are not so much the focus due to this neutralizing element of both being so good, where does the focus fall? Or rather, where do each team find their advantages in the rest of the matchups across the Rift?
For me, starting in the bot lane, just Sneaky versus Sven. If you look at these two guys, they actually don't have super aggressive and impressive laning stats, but Sneaky actually had the worst CSD at 15 in the league for marksman. So he's someone where I think that is an area that TSM can maybe find some advantages because Sven also, a little bit more forward percentage, but for the most part is also kind of scaling into late game. Both these guys are not receiving too much pressure and help from their team, and they focus more on getting to the late game. But I think that's one area TSM does have that advantage.
Yeah, as good as Sneaky's been in the late game, his laning phase stats have actually been quite subpar, one of the lowest.
Even his KDA is 1.6.
Yeah, nothing stellar stats-wise coming out of Sneaky aside from the win percentage that he has racked up with the team. And to some degree, that can't be ignored if he's just doing his job as it's needed for the team. I do want to turn our attention to the top lane. I'm coming to you, Solo, for your opinion on the Haunter versus Licorice matchup.
Well, these are two of the best laners in the league, at least me personally playing against them. And they have, a lot of variety in their play styles. So it'll be interesting to see, how the teams draft around them. I know, picking tanks like Cho'Gath and Poppy can give you like a lot of map control, and even Sion's starting to come back up. But it'll be interesting to see if someone is going to start doing the counter picks, try and get some Rumble in there, maybe get some Camille and just start working on these, more carry type champions and see if they can affect the game because, there's going to be a lot of stalemating in mid lane.
Yeah, the top lane and jungle picks can affect so much of what the top laners do, but I'm interested in that top lane matchup because if you looked at just this year, the stats we just saw on the screen, you'd say Licorice wins by a landslide.
Yeah.
But we also have to remember the experience that Haunter brings to the table in playing in multiple finals, multiple playoff series, and Licorice's only LCS playoff series was last split when they lost all 3 games to Team Liquid. So yes, Licorice does have the edge based off recency, but it's really difficult to count a player like Haunter out.
Yeah, as stellar as the stats are throughout the regular season, this is playoffs. It's a whole different animal. Last position I want to talk about is that jungle matchup. Of course, we've got the C9 rookie of the split in Blabber up against Grig for the side of TSM.
Yeah, I think Grig has done a good job stepping up and overperforming to people's expectations, but when you compare him to who he's up against, even with Sven Skaren, I would think he would be the underdog in both of those matchups, whether it is Blabber or Sven who's going to be playing out the series. So it's the kind of thing where it's a tough position for Grig to be in. I think a lot of these guys are a lot more aggressive at finding kills for their teams.
That's a good point. It's something we got to consider, just the possibility of swapping those junglers throughout the series.
Yeah, that's going to be a kind of a difference in play style that we'll see how C9 likes to adjust. But it's important for both these junglers to just maintain vision around mid lane so that either one of their mid laners can really kind of move around and affect the side lanes and try to snowball the game. But I think if whoever gets the more favorable matchup is going to look really good. But both these players are kind of young. We'll see how they do.
Yeah, and in terms of resource share, it couldn't be more different with Blabber as the starter. Grig has the lowest gold percentage, lowest damage percentage of all junglers on TSM, whereas Blabber is actually oftentimes supported by Jensen in the games.
Well, that's interesting. So with all these points in mind, I want to know what the win conditions are for both of these teams. We're going to start with C9. So I'm coming over to you, Jet.
Yeah, so I think it's important for them to play aggressive bottom lane since I don't actually think Grig goes down there that often. Also pick strong team fighting in the solo lanes, concentrate your ganks on the top of mid lane as they have during the regular season, and also remember to stay proactive like they were in the second half of the season. Even though it's playoffs, don't slow down, and TSM's not the proactive team, so you're free to do this.
All right, that's how they do it for C9. Mark, what do you got for TSM?
TSM, I actually like what they kind of did in staying red side. I wouldn't mind seeing them do it and use that to get good laning matchups while still picking better team fights. So that means picking the Rumble who can team fight but also secure a good lane. Go for stuff like that. Have Grig hopefully neutralize Blabber by finding him in the jungle and shutting him down. Just keep vision on him. You don't actually need to kill him or anything. Ban Kindred, I think it's Blabber's best champion that we've seen. And then finally, bot lane has to step up in some sense where they have to overperform from what we've seen out of the regular season. You know, we've kind of identified that as the one place that TSM does have a definitive edge, arguably with the stats at least, over C9, so they need to abuse that.
2:30 ahead of game time. Let's get predictions down the line. Mark, starting with you.
3-1 C9.
3-1 C9. What are we taking over here?
3-2 TSM.
3-2 TSM?
Yep.
I put in 3-0 for C9.
Woo! The 3-0 call for C9. So, hey, this is important. The prediction pineapple's still on the line as these two guys were tied in the predictions at the end of the split. We're in sudden death mode. Even though they've both predicted C9 to win, they have different series scores.
Yes.
So if one of them gets the series score correct, they are awarded the prediction pineapple at the end of the day. But with the match 2 minutes away, let's send it over to Riv on stage for the stakes coming into this series.
Thank you very much, Dash. I'd like to take you on a trip down memory lane to the start of the LCS, when TSM's claim to the title was all but guaranteed, until a plucky band of brothers known as Cloud9 came onto the scene and disrupted what could have been TSM's first reign over the LCS. TSM knew change was needed and brought in a mid-lane prodigy, Bjergsen, to reverse their fortune. After coming up short in his first split in the NALCS, Bjergsen delivered on his team's ambitions in the summer of 2014. Now the splits to follow would tell the same tale. Cloud9, despite picking up a mid-lane wonder of their own, failed and found themselves consistently coming up short on another title because of TSM. Time and time again, their encounters are bloody, coming down to the slimmest margins, or, in their most recent encounter, one single keystroke. Cloud9 entered today with tremendous momentum and eyes locked on a wounded TSM. Will Cloud9 and their roster of hopefuls reclaim a shot at their reign? Or will TSM chance reign supreme and find their way to finals?